Hi there. I just wanted to report in on this Part 107 test for the unmanned aircraft, aka so you can get a license to fly a drone. We got a Mavic 2 Pro at work about a month ago, and so one of our goals was to, there's two video producers that work at my company. So we both started studying. I studied that like hour and 40-minute YouTube video. I can't really recall who is the one who did it, but it's a really, really good one. Then I took it's like 2 hours and 23 minutes. A guy goes over about 120 questions and completely goes through them. That was really good. Then I read several of the PDFs that they recommend from the FAA and I think a few other things. I also did some extra studying on the sectional maps because those are giving me a hard time, particularly the elevations, the above ground level and the mean sea level. Then I took a few practice online tests that I scored fairly well on, like 80, 82, 83. So I really thought I was ready. So I went in to take the test, and there's 60 questions. As you know, it's on a computer. They give you like a 8.5 by 11 booklet that has all the sectional maps in it and a bunch of legends and, all the stuff you need. And I was initially pretty overwhelmed by the amount of maps that you had to look at and the amount you had to look at the book. Out of the 60 questions, I would say about 40 maybe had to do with either the maps or the legends, or you had to look at an airport and say what frequency the communication takes place on. And so there was a lot more than those than I thought there would be. There was nothing on my test, nothing on runways, the approaches, and all of that, which I was sort of glad for, but I was expecting. There was only a couple where you had to read the TAF and the other whatchamacallit things where you had to say what either the weather was or how the wind was blowing, and those, I enjoy those, so those are good. There was only one on the angle of attack with the graph. There were several on weather, and I had probably seen 3 or 4 of them in the practice tests. I'd say overall I'd seen maybe 10 questions. And I thought maybe I would have seen 20 or 25. So obviously there's a huge pool that they draw from. Since there's only 60 on the test, I imagine there's several hundred, if not more. So the weather ones, some of them, I got 2 of them wrong, because after you're done, you can see which ones you got right and wrong, which was a little surprising. And then there was also several on just drones when they set up a scenario. And I had never read or studied any of that. And so they were sort of common sense, but not really. And I think I got 3 of those wrong out of maybe 7. So there's obviously something that I either missed in what I read, or there's another study guide. So if you are in the process of studying for this, I would definitely find out everything you can just about drones, because they make it seem in a lot of the tests that, it doesn't have that much to do with flying a drone, but it actually does. And on my test, there were a couple on drones that I'd never heard. I just had to guess. Several on weather, when can you expect frost? And I could have sworn that I had the right answer, and I didn't. Yeah, so it was harder than I thought. Having said that, I did not flunk it. I passed it with an 87. I had 8 wrong. And afterwards, you can look at your answers and see which ones you got wrong. And of the 8 I got wrong, I think 5 I pretty much knew I got wrong because I was guessing. Although I thought I got them right. I mean, I'm not surprised I got them wrong. And then there were probably 2 or 3 that I really thought I had right, so I was kind of surprised. But the water under the bridge now. But in conclusion, 60 questions, you get 2 hours. I went through it in about 45 minutes, maybe 50 minutes, and then I went through the complete 60 questions again to double check my answers. And I think I changed 2 of those, and I think I got 1 right by changing it. But it was a lot hairier than I thought it was going to be, and I'm glad it's over. Of course, you got to take it again in a couple of years, but so if you think you're ready, if you didn't like pay to take a class, which I didn't, and you think you're ready, I would study a little bit more and then maybe a little bit more, because you can get 18 answers wrong, so you don't have to be Albert Einstein to pass it. But I would have felt a lot better if I would have, I guess, read something, a drone handbook or the FAA. I thought I went through that whole 74-page thing, but as I said, there were several things that I just didn't read. There was something about a buddy box that I couldn't even find after I found out what a buddy box is, but the scenario they set up, no clue at all. That's what I have to say. I hope this helps somewhat, and happy flying.